Vasco da Gama was one of the most important explorers in history and a key figure in the Age of Exploration. He was the first European to sail directly from Europe to India, a journey that changed global trade and helped connect distant parts of the world. His daring voyage opened new routes across the oceans and made Portugal one of the most powerful nations of the 1500s. Vasco da Gama was born around 1460 in Sines, a small town on the coast of Portugal. He grew up during a time when Portugal was becoming a leader in exploration. Young Vasco grew up hearing stories about these voyages and about the riches of the East, spices, silk, and jewels that traders brought from Asia. He dreamed of becoming a sailor and exploring those distant lands himself. Da Gama came from a noble family, and his father was a knight who served the king. As a young man, Vasco studied navigation and mathematics, both essential for long sea voyages. He joined the Portuguese Navy and soon became known for his courage and skill. His talent caught the attention of King Manuel I of Portugal, who was looking for someone to lead a dangerous and important mission, to find a sea route from Europe to India. At that time, spices like pepper, cinnamon, and cloves were extremely valuable. They were used to preserve food, make medicine, and add flavor to meals. However, getting spices from India and the East was difficult and expensive. Most goods traveled over land through the Middle East and were controlled by Arab and Italian traders. Portugal wanted to find a sea route around Africa to buy spices directly and take control of the trade. In 1497, Vasco da Gama was chosen to lead this expedition. He set sail from Lisbon, Portugal, on July 8th with 4 ships and about 170 men. The voyage was long and full of dangers. The sailors faced rough seas, extreme weather, and diseases like scurvy, which came from not having enough fresh food. They sailed down the coast of Africa, stopping at trading posts along the way. When the ships reached the southern tip of Africa, they sailed around the Cape of Good Hope, a place known for its strong winds and dangerous waves. It was one of the hardest parts of the journey, but Da Gama's skill as a navigator helped them pass safely. They then continued north along the eastern coast of Africa, stopping in places like Mozambique and Mombasa, where they met Arab traders. At first, the local rulers were suspicious of the Portuguese, but in the city of Malindi, in present-day Kenya, the ruler agreed to help them. He gave Da Gama a skilled pilot who knew the route to India. Using this pilot's knowledge, Vasco da Gama and his crew sailed across the Indian Ocean, guided by the monsoon winds. In May 1498, after nearly a year at sea, they finally reached Calicut, now Kozhikode, a busy port on the southwest coast of India. It was a moment that changed history. For the first time, Europeans had reached India by sea. The return journey was even more difficult than the trip to India. Many sailors died from disease and exhaustion. When Vasco da Gama finally returned to Portugal in 1499, only 2 of his 4 ships made it back. But his voyage was a huge success. He had proven that it was possible to sail to India by going around Africa, and Portugal now had a new path to the riches of the East. Da Gama was celebrated as a hero. The king rewarded him with titles, wealth, and honors. A few years later, he was sent back to India with a much larger fleet to strengthen Portugal's trade and influence there. This time his arrival was more forceful, and the Portuguese began to establish forts and trading posts along the Indian coast. These actions marked the beginning of Portugal's overseas empire. In 1524, Vasco da Gama returned to India once more, this time as the Portuguese viceroy or governor. He became ill shortly after arriving and died in the city of Cochin, now Kochi. Later his remains were taken back to Portugal, where he was buried with honor. Vasco da Gama's voyages had a lasting impact on the world. He helped open the first direct sea route between Europe and Asia, which changed global trade forever. Portugal became one of the richest and most powerful nations of the time, and European exploration expanded rapidly afterward. Today, Vasco da Gama is remembered as one of the greatest explorers in history. His courage, determination, and skill as a navigator helped connect continents and cultures that had once seemed worlds apart. His journey proved that with vision and bravery, the unknown could be discovered, and that the sea, though dangerous, could unite the world.